WeRiseNation.com.
This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it, coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We bout to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud and clear. If you seek it, you will find what you looking for. And once you hear us, it'll leave you looking for some more. Open the door, let us in, we got a special vibe. Now close the door, lock us in, and enjoy the ride. We about to talk about some things that make a lot of sense. And what we talking about, here sometimes will get intense. That's what we looking for, trying to spark a conversation. Join us live or you can listen on the We Rise Nation. This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it, coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We bout to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it, coming out of Illinois. So sit back and
welcome back to another edition of the Grown Men Podcast. I am your host, BAN, and welcome back into the show. Well, like always, people, we got a lot to talk about, a lot of different topics this week because there's always news buzzing on, and we got different things we want to talk about. Give our perspective, our take, so to speak, at the Grown Men Podcast on how we feel about what's going on in the world today. And joining me, of course, remotely, my brother, the Mark. Mark, it's good to have you back here on the Grown Men Podcast.
Always good to be here with you and ready to definitely break it down for the people.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. People, we are coming up on our 100th episode of the Grown Men Podcast, coming soon. It's going to be a big one because we are going to talk about a lot of topics, but right now we want to get into the news. And what I want to talk about first, Mark, is Trump's big plan. That's right. Everybody out here by now has seen that Trump has a big plan, right? The big slush fund. All this money that goes to people who were so-called wrongly pointed out, picked on, and put upon by the federal government. And some people are making jokes about saying that here's a man who filed a case against himself because he was a citizen, but he's the president of the United States. And Felon 47 continues to do these things over and over, saying that the weaponization of the government, and they're talking about everyone qualifies. And a lot of people saying that's true because I heard people talking on podcasts. I heard people saying it. D.L. Hughley was like, yeah, everybody should line up. Same thing. Joy Reid said the same thing. As Black Americans should be at the front line. But what do you think, Mark, about this slush fund and exactly what it's going to mean, especially for people who have committed real crimes even after the fact that they've been pardoned?
I mean, it's just another scheme that goes unreported because the problem with this is you're not seeing this on major news networks. This should be a big story everywhere. Everybody should be talking about it. I know they do stuff on like MS Now and things like that, but this is a major story along with the fact that Felon 47 also made a big sum of money on in the stock market.
Right.
He has the power to manipulate stocks, and he's doing this openly as the president, which goes against the Amendment clause.
Yes.
All of that stuff. Like, you're not supposed to be making money while in office at all, period.
You certainly should.
Those rules.
No.
So so when he sit there and just craps all over like the rule of law, that's just creating more and more chaos. As taxpayers, why do you feel that you have to pay taxes? Or why do you feel you have to follow certain kind of rules and laws and things like that. And I mean, my biggest thing is these elected officials on both sides of the aisle, but in particular with the Republicans, I mean, that know better, when you got these people that got to come out there and like try to like, you know, defend this thing or whitewash it or do whatever. This is all criminal acts in broad daylight. You know, I mean, that's all it is to it. This slush fund, nobody's going to get any money off of that besides for him, because he's going to control it. He's going to put the people in place. He says he's going to have
they're going to have a board.
Something like that.
They're going to have
a 6 people.
Yeah, they're going to have a board of 6 people. And when they were asking acting Attorney General Todd Blanche about it, will he be on that board? Yeah, he's going to be on.
Who was Donald Trump's defense lawyer?
Exactly.
Up until January 21st
exactly.
of 2005.
Exactly.
2025. Excuse me.
Exactly. That's the whole point, Mark. That's why they were saying.
Scandal.
That's why
they're talking about.
That's why they were saying it's him against him, because basically he's the acting Attorney General and he's Trump's personal lawyer. So he's arguing a case for both sides. This is ridiculous. Where else does this happen?
I mean, well, it happens in a lot of countries. Actually, a lot of those like third world countries. I mean, coincidentally, this is pretty much the same exact thing that Mr. Adolf Hitler did in Germany when he was in power. Mm-hmm. When he had a very similar slush fund for like people who was going out there to commit crimes on his behalf. So this works 2 ways. I mean, the one obvious way is to like, you know, put more money in Felon 47's pocket, that's pretty much all he's about, is robbing the American people. This is taxpayer money. This is money that's coming out of the Treasury Department, the money that who all pays taxes. That's where your money goes, to the Treasury Department. So he's taking from that very Treasury Department. Let's get that clear. Everybody needs to understand that. And the other way it works, because he's going to give up some of the funds for the people like the Proud Boys and all these insurrectionists that was part of that old January 16, the J6ers.
Yes.
He's going to give up some funds for, like, you know what I'm saying, some of them, and like other people to like know that, hey, if you do something on my behalf, you will be rewarded for it. If you commit crimes, you will be rewarded for it.
Yeah.
And as you know, a lot of the J6 people that got pardons from him, and like, let's be clear, when you receive a presidential pardon, that means that you admitted to the crime that you have done.
Exactly.
When you're pardoned for something, that means that you're being excused, but you still committed that crime. That don't mean that, like, oh, if you got a pardon, it's not like a expungement.
Right.
That's 2 different things. Like,
right.
People like kind of like, you know, tie the 2 together. It's not. If you got to get a pardon, that means that you're guilty of the crime that you was charged with.
Exactly.
You're guilty of that crime. Expungement means that you was wrongfully charged, or whatever the case, and like, you know, they had, you know, looked at the case again. You had no wrongdoing, like you didn't do anything wrong. So yeah, like, you know what I mean? That's a big difference. A pardon means that, okay, like, yeah, you did something wrong, but, you know, we're going to let you, like, you know, walk, you know, for like, you know, whatever reasons. But in Trump's case, his pardons are like bought and paid for. It's a pay to play scam and scheme. So what this slush farm is going to, with this slush money is going to go to the ones who's willingly to commit crimes, whatever it is, whether it's violent crimes, whatever, trying to cheat in elections, all that kind of stuff, because they're gearing up to this year's midterms, and they're going to do everything that they have to possibly do, take votes away from black people, put ICE on locations to intimidate folks from voting, to do whatever they got to do, because the Republicans know that these policies are very unpopular. The Republicans win when the voting numbers are low. If you get a low turnout, if you get people too afraid to vote, or just like turned off altogether about the whole voting situation, and just decide like, hey, you know what, it ain't worth it, nothing gonna change, that's how they win. So this is what they're trying to do. That's why you got all these other Republicans going along with this when they know it's wrong. And like, some of them, like the Lindsey Grahams, they're gonna try to get their taste out of it too, because Lindsey Graham already projected months ago that like, oh, his phone record was like, looked up because the whole Jan 6 thing, that like, he was aggrieved in some kind of way, which is all BS, which is all nonsense and just wildly illegal. The question is, what are we gonna do about it? It's like, we can't just sit here and get mad, but we need to get smart. The American people have to get smart, get out there and vote. You have to do that. Otherwise, it's a lost cause.
Yeah, but back to this slush fund and this whole thing that's going on. JD Vance comes out because he took a lot of heat in an interview, and they were saying, look, this is all a slush fund for the president's friends, for the Republicans. And JD Vance said, well, Republicans can apply for it. Democrats can apply for it. He said during a hearing, and he also said if Hunter Biden wants to apply for this particular fund, he is welcome too. I think that's a lot of fluff talk, and me and you both know that if Hunter Biden applied for anything, he would be turned down right away.
Man, this is all a big joke, man. Like, they sat there and went after Hunter Biden for his cocaine use and he was over there in Ukraine and he was a board member where he was he took a position and he did use his family name. He used his daddy name to get a job on the board where he was making an extra $300,000. Trump's son-in-law, Eric Kushner, in the dead man suit, makes billions of dollars a year.
Well, we know Jared Kushner. We know what kind of guy Jared Kushner is. He's that kind of slimy weasel. You can look at him in the face once again. He's that slimy looking weasel who he tries to play it off like he's such a nice guy. He's such well-spoken when he's one of the biggest criminals that's behind this whole operation.
Well, the point is that he's making billions of dollars. Like, if we was that concerned about Hunter Biden and like him getting money because of his family name, but we hear nothing or we go silent with all what Kushner is doing. It's beyond ridiculous. Same thing with the Trump boys, the sons. They've been making money. They've been making stock moves too. Their wealth has increased. They made billions of dollars over the last year and a half, ever since Felon 47 got back into the White House. But again, with this whole slush fund, of course, JD Vance gonna say some nonsense like that to try to cover this thing up. Oh yeah, anybody can apply. Which yes, it's true. Anybody can apply. But once again, Felon 47. He's going to put his people in charge of all the whole decision making and all that kind of stuff. So I find that highly unlikely that a Hunter Biden or you and I or anybody else is going to get approved. Yeah, sure, anybody can apply. Yeah, you can apply all day, many times as possible. But they're going to give the money to who they want to give the money to, with the bulk of that money going in Felon 47's pocket.
You're 100% right on that, Mark. People like you and I will never see that money a day in our life, whether we deserve it or not. We just wouldn't get it. So it's one of them situations to me where it's all a bunch of garbage, and I'm full up to here with Felon 47 and the things that he does, where it's to the point where I only want to hear two things about him. Either he's out of office or he's out of life. Either way, it doesn't matter to me. Another topic I wanted to talk about, Mark, that came up, and, we've all been looking at it and everybody's had their take on it. And that is Chud the Builder, right? This character. So, Chud the Builder, he's the internet guy, right? He's a YouTuber, and he live streams himself, saying racially derogatory statements about black people in public settings. And, of course, he was arrested with the attempted murder after shooting outside a Tennessee courthouse. And the whole thing about it is, his real name is Dalton Eatherly. He's 28 years old. And I just think that he's one of those guys, right, that Felon 47 has brought to life, that kind of rhetoric back to life. You know, that prehistoric era of the 60s and 50s and on back down in that era where you can say anything you feel and say whatever you want to. But now he's going to have to pay a price for that. And when he went to court, he had to look at those 2 black bailiffs that was in that courtroom. And he had his head down because, once again, as I said online and I've talked to you on the Grown Men podcast, those type of guys are real tough when they have the numbers. But when there's no numbers to help them, when there are no weapons or guns to help them, they're quiet as church mice and they don't make a sound. Well, what do you say about this guy, Mark? What do you know about it?
I mean, you pretty much said it all right there. I mean, you know, I look at it more like this, the fact that this stuff becomes normalized. I mean, you see stuff like this all over social media because the thing with Felon 47 coming into power and moving the way he does, he created a scenario where like he has emboldened people to go ahead and say what they really feel. Like, you know, they don't have to hide anymore. Like, you know what I'm saying? The Klan man can take his hood off, right?
Right.
And they feel that, you know, they can be able to do certain things and stuff, but everybody can't move like Trump. And Trump is very well protected. He got a whole infrastructure protecting him, especially as, you know, president of these United States, if you will. Right. But it's like, you know, you're gonna get that FAFO real quick. You're gonna get that like reality check, and that's what happened with this Chad the Builder, you know, type of individual. He's making videos, and like a lot of people like his videos. That's like, you know what I'm saying, racist and stuff like that. I mean, he's trying to be like a more extreme version of a Charlie Kirk. Want to be confrontational, want to create things for shock value. But, like, you know what I'm saying, when things get real, they get real quick. And he's lucky that he's still breathing right now. And then, like, I mean, he's probably going to go to prison.
Yeah.
Which means that he better make sure that he does things to, like, get himself put in a hole or something, like, away from all those other prisoners. I mean, because there's no protection in there. I mean, I would imagine he's probably already been trying to reach out to the administration or some people who's close to them or something, for he can get himself some kind of way out of the mess that he created. I mean, it's beyond ridiculous, but you see many people like him. You see, like, you know, people in these neighborhoods. I watched a video of a woman, you know, walking up on somebody's property, a black man's property, you know what I'm saying, complaining about the kids or something like that. They was on her grass, and she felt boldened to come up on his property, barefooted and all, and get in that man's face and get knocked the hell out. Right. Right. And it's like nothing she could do about it, because you can't say, oh, well, you know, you shouldn't hit a woman. No, she can't walk on anybody's property like that and start getting in people's faces. So these people are going to find out the hard way. And if they want to sit there and bring it to that level where you want to start, like, you know, a revolution and start using gunplay and things like that, like, you know, white folks ain't the only ones that can get firearms. Yep. And I'm not sitting there like trying to promote any kind of violence, anything like that. But I say all that to say, like, people need to like calm down and stop drinking all that MAGA Kool-Aid and thinking that you're gonna be able to get away with that with any old body, because you're gonna come across the wrong one. This Chad the Builder guy, he been forcing it for like a long time, like cause a lot of people he been confronting, like pretty much like laughed it off or waved them off or just walked away from, like, you know, they ain't got no time for it. But you're going to come across somebody that do get all the time for all of that. So he's lucky to still have his life, to be honest. So, you know, it's just a matter of time if he's going to keep it exact. But I suspect he kind of like, you know, learned his lesson. As you described, he had his head down and all that kind of stuff, because deep down inside, he's scared. He's a coward. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely, Mark. It's one of them situations where, you know, I got a chance to look at some of the videos and some of the things that he was actually doing. From my standpoint, I don't understand how YouTube actually allowed all of that to go on, because the little videos that I put up that didn't have anything to do with that kind of stuff,
they had me remove him. So once again, it's one of these situations where it looks unfair to me because this guy is actually saying racist stuff, whereas I never said anything racist and had some of my videos pulled. So it's just one of them deals.
Yeah. I mean, this is what it is. I mean, this is the system of whiteness and stuff that, like, you know what I'm saying? People pretend that's not there, but it's the same way, like, a guy like, you know, Scott Jennings can sit there and drop the F-bomb on network television and still have a job.
Absolutely.
He didn't get suspended. He didn't get anything. I remember people like Stephen A. Smith. He got suspended from ABC from like comments that he made.
Right.
On there. The other girl, I can't remember her name now. Now I forget. But like, yeah, she said something political or whatever against Trump, and she pretty much lost her job.
Right.
You know, Scott Jennings and like, you know, other folks like that. I mean, you know, it used to be a time like that was a no-no. That should have been it for him, but he still has a job. And like, you know, YouTube the same way because like we unfortunately is still under this whiteness control. I mean, so yeah, a guy like that can get away with that. I mean, like, you know, a person like you and I, we was to get on here and like, you know, start saying all kind of racial stuff against white people, it'll be a wrap right away. I mean, hell, this might be our last appearance right now on YouTube just for saying what we saying.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Absolutely.
So look out for us on other platforms. Don't worry, we'll find a way.
Yeah, that's true, Mar, because that's the thing. All we do here is speak the truth, and we actually speak in a sanitized version of it because, you know, we trying to, you know, cater to everybody. You know, everybody might not like the language when it gets a little blue, but for the simple fact, this is the reality of the world that we live in. When you have Felident, who is the president of the United States, and he gets up here and he drops F-bombs and he says whatever he wants to say. And like you said earlier, Mark, and alluded to, you know, that's Trump and he can get away with it. And a lot of us feel like, hey, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But these racist people feel the same way. They think they can say anything at any time. So this guy like Chad the Builder, you know, he thinks he can say what he wants to say. But like you said, he has to go to that prison. Trump is not going there, but he is. And it's one of those situations where in that prison, I'm quite sure you're going to encounter some brothers that are not going to treat you very kindly, my friend.
I mean, everybody got to live somewhere. I mean, like my whole thing is like, for these people who sit there and think like that, like, I mean, what is the pleasure and joy that you get from that? I mean, it pretty much to speak to a lot about who you are as a person, as a human being, that like you want to say the N word so bad and all this kind of stuff. What did that do for your life? It's like you want to blame minorities, you want to blame, you know, gay people and all this kind of stuff. You get mad at old Pride Month. You get mad at a Juneteenth. Oh, why they get to have Juneteenth? Why they have black? I mean, what? All that stuff is not helping your life one bit at all. Nobody's taking opportunities and jobs away from you other than these Robin Barron, other than these rich folks, these wealthy folks, the tech bros, the billionaires. Those are the ones that take from you, that take from your community. It's a damn shame that Elon Musk is on the verge of becoming a trillionaire while you got like millions, tens of millions of people who don't know when they're going to have their next meal.
Exactly.
It's like, come on, man. Like, y'all got to like let that stuff go. If you want to say the N-word, go ahead, fine. Say it as much as you want to. Go ahead and knock yourself out. They ain't going to put no more money in your pocket, and they ain't going to bring down these gas prices. I know that much.
Yeah, it's one of them situations, Mark, where we're going to continue to monitor this thing on the Grown Men podcast because I got a feeling that it's going to get very interesting for Chad the Builder. Next topic I want to talk about, Mark, is what the war in Iran is costing Americans. And as they've been tallying up the numbers, every day it goes up. So the other day I checked, it was $186.02 for each taxpayer. Now it's up to $188.14 for each taxpayer. So this thing is going up and up. And a lot of people are talking about it saying, look, there was never an end game. There was never a plan. As some of the people in Congress and the Senate have been questioning people left and right about this. What was the plan? What was the end game? And some of these Navy secretaries and people, they can't give honest answers. They all been trained in the Felon 47 school of how to approach people. And that is to be aggressive and brazen to people who are asking reasonable questions. But what do you say?
Well, I'll say it is like, I mean, if like Democrats or any kind of reasonable, responsible politicians take power or have the courage to do the right thing, as in the Constitution, there should be a big, major Nuremberg-like trial where you should see people go to jail and be locked up behind this thing, because all this stuff is illegal. Simple as that. This is all wrong. It's all illegal, and people need to go to jail behind this. But it's like when you listen to these hearings and stuff like that, I mean, because I watched a couple of them, and like, you know, like the back and forth, it could be entertaining, but at the end of the day, nothing's gonna change or move the needle. I mean, nobody's gonna be completely honest what this whole thing was about. A lot of people wanted to be to go after like Iran, and a lot of people on the Democratic side wanted to go after Iran as well, but not in this way. They want to have a good reason, a good excuse. I mean, but it was pretty much nothing. I mean, the story keep on changing and flipping and this and that. Bottom line is, if you can recall, before this whole thing happened, people started to pick up on those Epstein files once again.
Right. Epstein. Everything's Epstein.
You know, he needed to get that out of the news cycle, and he has accomplished this on that goal of doing that. But like when you go and get in conflicts with a country like Iran, I mean, this is not, again, I said this before, like, this is not Venezuela. You know what I'm saying? This is not one of those smaller countries that you can just go in there and do what you want to do. These people have planned and lived their whole life for this very moment right here. It's like I'm like Dr. Loomis and stuff. I mean, they've been staring at the wall. They've been waiting. They've been preparing for this because they've been outcasted for like decades by like all kind of countries and all this kind of stuff. And I'm not sitting there trying to make them out to be no good guys or whatever. Sometimes some stories don't have any good guys.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no good guys. Like I heard somebody say like, oh, well, you know, United States, you know, we're the good guys. No, we're not. We're not. We've never been, to be honest.
No.
If you want to be frank about it.
Well, the whole thing about
the country that we live in, so yeah, we want to support, you know, whatever and stuff, because we feel that we have to do that, but we're not good guys.
No, we're not. And that's the whole thing about it. We try to portray ourselves in this country as being the good guys, but we're not. And we don't want to talk about our failures and our losses. And just like the Vietnam War, this is going to be an L for the United States, because you're not going to win. Because basically you're going to leave there with the same thing you had when you came in, which is nothing. That's what's going to happen right now, especially when you got Felon 47 who is running this country right now. It's ridiculous because he thinks he's the art of a deal. These people don't play by those rules. These are not business people in Iran. They will sacrifice you. They'll sacrifice their own people for their agenda. The whole point is when you start going after countries, and it's costing us, the taxpayers, the money, because that's the main deal, right? You know, yeah, we have humanitarian, that we, for other people, we don't want people to get killed. We don't want school children and women to be murdered. But at the same time, this country has to understand that you're putting our soldiers, people's children in harm's way. And for what? Because if you're going to go after all the nuclear weapons, then you have to go after China. You have to go after Russia. You have to go after North Korea. They all have them. And then Israel has them. So what happens if you get into a conflict with Israel one day? These are the things that can be settled without going to war.
See, that's the whole thing. Like, they don't care. I mean, you know, when you talk about the, like, you know, when you say we are humanitarian, I mean, like, humanitarians, like, you know what I'm saying? Who is we that you're talking about? Because the fact remains is that this country has always been, like, you know, business, bottom line. Like, they sacrifice, like, the United States sacrifice people all the time and have sacrificed people, kids, sending other people kids to war, especially when they was doing that draft, which they're trying to bring back, by the way. They're going to start bringing back that draft. And it's like, you know, what are we, the people, going to stand up and do about it? Like, you know, Iran, once again, you got to understand that region. You got to take the time to understand who and what they, you know what I'm saying, what them people are over there. And they're not savages. They're not like animals. Actually, Iran is pretty much top 10 in the world when it comes to science and technology. That's why they've been kicking our butts with they 20,000 drones, taking down our $1 million weaponry.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And they don't have to ask Congress for anything in their country. They do what they want to do when they want to do it.
Well, they go by, like I said, they have certain kind of laws and like, you know, orders that they go by. That's the same way when they killed their top guy, the main guy, and they leader, that's why they regime did not break.
No, because
they already had backup plans.
Well, his son, who was worse than him, took over and is younger than him.
Right.
So his son is like around my age. So the whole point is that he's ready to go for another 30 years if need be.
But my whole point is that they have infrastructure based on, like, when you go against any kind of enemy, I mean, just like, let's say like a sports reference and stuff like that. When you about to go in the championship game against a big team or whatever and stuff, you usually watch, you know, tapes and videos. You try to get an understanding of their tendencies and all this kind of stuff. Like when they sit there and close down the street, that should have been anticipated that they was going to try to do. You should have had a plan already to protect that area or see what their capability was, but not these morons. They just, we just going to go in there and blow up some stuff, and then they just going to bow down and give us everything. No. And like, you know, Israel too, they should have known better because they closest to them.
Exactly.
Israel, with all their arrogance and BB, this criminal, Netanyahu, this modern version of Hitler, that's what he is. That's what he turned into. And you want to sit there and talk about anti-Semitic. Who's pushing that? Him. Why is he pushing that? Because it benefits him. So he can make an excuse. When you want to tie in all Jewish people to like Israel people, he the ones that's making this thing worse. Ain't nobody out here being anti-Semitic, but besides from him and people that's on these like crazy right-wingers that says all kind of things about Nazis and all that, but all they did with this conflict was made things much worse because now the strait is going to be closed and they're going to charge tolls when they wasn't doing any of that before.
Exactly. That was the whole thing.
There was no problem for boats and ships to go by the strait, and I mean, you know, it was business as usual.
Well,
until they started going in there and dropping bombs, and guess what? They had a deal on the table.
That's what I was about to say. John
Iran agreed, even like after they tore up the damn Obama deal, they like actually agreed 2 days before Trump's army, Trump's Navy bombed and blew up in that school with all those schoolgirls and children. Iran agreed to another deal. They said yes, but it was Israel that was pushing this, like I said on this program before, because they want to control that whole region over there. But they do it by themselves. They need the United States to get involved in this nonsense.
But they're still
going back to your point, is costing us. It's going to cost us even more. Like after June and July, you're probably going to see your gas price go up even higher. Like in our state that we stay in, like gas prices is pretty much over $5 now. That could easily turn into $7. So that's what you guys signed up for. all you ones that triple Trump, voted for him 3 times, or didn't want to vote for a black woman, or Joe Biden policies was, he didn't do anything. He didn't care about the Palestinians, all of that stuff. Or just decided not to vote. This is what you get.
Yep.
And it's not going to, change overnight. It could take decades to, fix this mess. That's a real life possibility. So, these prices are going to go up with the gas at the pump, also energy costs, also fertilizer. So your food's going to go up. The cost of living overall is going to go up. This is what it is. This is how much racism costs. This is how much, not taking this stuff seriously. Politicians, both sides are the same. All that nonsense, all that dumb talk, that people listen to, all these talking heads who got millions of dollars, like on Fox News and CNN and other places. Like, they're not worried about the gas prices. They're like oil companies. They're not worried about the gas prices. Like those oil sects, they're going to make lots of money off of this. They're propping their hand over fist, and they're going to have all their money. But the people who don't have it like that is going to feel it real hard.
Yeah, it's one of those situations, Mark, where we're all going to feel the burn from this, because right now, $188.14 per person, and it continues to rise every day as long as this conflict is going on. And of course, we will keep talking about it right here on the Grown Men Podcast, because this affects everyone. Everyone that's not a billionaire. Next thing I want to talk about, Mark, is blacks are only good for entertaining. And this is something I seen while I was looking online. And of course, I got my own thought process about it, because especially right now with the autopsy of the 2024 presidential run of Kamala Harris, and some of the things that were said in there, and her taking the playbook of Biden, which we had already talked about. And they want the guy who's in charge at the DNC to step down. People are outraged. But look, we knew what this was about. And it's the same thing with us as blacks who try to get into a field that should only be for white Americans. At least that's the way that they think and what they believe. Politics are out of our league. Being doctors, lawyers, attorneys, any scientists, anything under the sun that's like that, they feel that's out of our league and we should stay in our place. But what do you think about that?
Well, as far as the autopsy report, that was all garbage and trash. It wasn't done well. It was rushed, all that kind of stuff. And I think Ken Martin should step down, which he probably will. I mean,
yeah.
The simple fact is like they don't want to. It's like when I was listening to Roland Martin and the other people and stuff, like you have these white Democratic consultants and stuff, like at the end of the day, they all about making money. So they don't really care who wins or loses.
Right.
Because the thing is that when you give money to these consultants, what they do is buy TV ads. That's all they're about.
Right.
And advertising. Buy
right.
TV ads, radio ads. They don't use that money to build infrastructure. They don't use that money to build up the grassroots, because that's how you get people to come out and vote. If you got to do those door knocking, you got to go and talk to the people. You got to meet the people where they at. You got to educate the folks. That's what you got to invest your money in. You got to go to places that most people don't go to.
Right.
So, as important it is for everybody to vote, because I believe everybody should vote regardless, because it's our right. And especially if you're going to go out there and complain about this and that, and be mad about something, and you choose not to do the bare minimum at all. But with that said, too, you got to understand the fact that people we don't see these people come to our areas and our communities and actually talk to us, or they come to a barber shop 2 months before an election, or go to a church. It's like black people are in more places than that. You got to make a effort. So yeah, they don't want to do any of that. And that whole autopsy, I didn't read any of it and stuff. I mean, unless it was gonna sit there and say hey, y'all should have listened to black women.
Well,
I don't have no interest in seeing what that's about, and that was the whole thing that they was trying to cover up. It's like just be straight up and real, and that's why like the Democrat Party, in Washington, basically like the leadership are polling lower than Trump.
Yeah,
they had like 28% with the people because they see them as weak, they see them as inconsistent, and like all the things because they don't want to fully give the power to the people.
right.
And that's the whole thing. That's why you see a guy like a Zoran Mondani is being successful because he's trying to give the power back to the people the way it's supposed to be. Give us that opportunity to control our destiny. And the brother out there in Philadelphia, who had won, who's probably going to be the next Congress person, not Philadelphia, out there in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, yeah.
Yeah, he's somebody that's about the people. He considers himself a socialist too, or whatever and stuff. But none of those titles matter. At the end of the day, it's about what you're trying to do for the people. How are you trying to improve the people's life? That's why I like that line that Zoran Mondani said, because he did a version. He talked about Ronald Reagan when he said like the 9 most dangerous words is like, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. No, the most dangerous words is that I worked all day and I can't feed my family.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's real stuff that people are going through. So it's like, you go with all this back and forth, this counterproductive stuff. I mean, we need a party that's going to sit there and be for the people. Now, as far as where it comes to black people concerns and things like that, like, yes, they try to use us for like, their own purposes. And they want to say that we can't be in these places and these spaces and do these things except we've been doing these things.
Right.
When it comes to science and medicine and things like that, all the way back from the motherland.
Exactly.
I mean, if you take the time to like look up a little bit of history, or like even just do some vague Google searches, you will discover all kind of things. If it wasn't for black people, you wouldn't have the technologies and the science and the medicines that we have today. So, I mean, it's just a common known fact. But they like to sit there and pretend like, we was just an afterthought, or like, they was the ones that did all this stuff. And no, it's all garbage. It's all nonsense. But until we give up this whole, we got to appeal and appease whiteness, then we're going to keep on coming across this same seesaw battle, and we're going to find ourselves into a worse mess. That's why you got these people that's in charge right now.
Yeah, it's one of them situations, Mark, where I look at it like this. Look, blacks are only good for entertaining. That's all they see us as, right? Whether we are a comedian, we're some kind of actor, we're some kind of ball player, right? And I was thinking about this all week and how I was going to talk about it on the Grown Men podcast. And I got to saying to myself, look, just like Henry Jefferson said, you take us out of basketball, you take us out of football, you take us out of the Olympics, you take us out of anything athletic, and you've got nothing. That was the sole purpose of why they let black ball players in MLB. Because the Negro League players were superior. None of the white players, for the most part, could play in the Negro Leagues, but all the Negro League players could play in the major leagues. It's the same way with basketball. It's the same way with football. And I know that, look, we're never going to just leave the sport at all. Okay, I love sports too, just like the next person. But at the end of the day, I want people to know that we are more than that, and we need to be more than that. Because I look at it like this. When I look at a ratio, Mark, okay, say for instance, once again, you have 12 guys on that basketball team, right? And you have 6 white guys, you have 6 black guys. Okay, the white guys know that they're all not going to make it to the NBA. The black guys all think we have a chance to go to the NBA. So what happens when one out of those 6 white guys goes and plays in the NBA? What's going to happen to the other 5? They're going to fall back on something that they can use to further their life. Whereas if you take the 6 black guys and 1 black guy makes it, what's going to happen to all other 5 black guys? They're going to go back to where they were, which is in their neighborhoods and in their communities. And they're going to go home empty-handed. That's the thing that I don't want to see for us. And that's the road that I fear we're headed down, and why we are where we are today is because too many of us focus so much on athletics and entertaining that when that well dries up, we don't have the resources to go find something else to do that will make us successful in life. But what do you say?
I mean, you pretty much nailed it right there. I mean, that's the whole point. I mean, because that's all I was gonna say is like, at the end of the day, it don't matter how they view us. It never matters. The problem is how do we view ourselves? The problem is that we feed into these narratives, into these stereotypes, and feel that that's the way we're supposed to be. I mean, one thing with Felon 47, not to go back on him, but like, you know, him and like a lot of people believe in this thing called eugenics, which means that like certain people are born to be a certain way no matter what.
Right.
That's just how you're born to be.
Right.
And, you know, I am, you know, wholly against that whole notion because it pretty much limited possibilities. Like everybody have a brain and have an imagination. And like you can be somebody. Like the late great Reverend Jesse Jackson said, I am somebody.
Right.
And that's an important thing to say to like, you know, for people to like have to realize and understand that you are somebody, that you can be somebody, that you can, you know, live up to your imaginations, whatever you're trying to be, if you put that work in and that effort. But once you just start settling for like, well, you know, this is all I can do. Either I'm going to play ball, sing, rap, dance. Maybe I can act a little bit. Maybe I can do some movies. Maybe I can be a comedian, or I'm going to sell drugs.
Right.
Or I can be a pimp.
Right.
Or like, I mean, it's like, again, we have done the things. We have done science and technology and medicine and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you know, how do you think that like Africans survived all these years, all these decades and generations before the white man came around and gave us shame or whatever, told us to put some clothes on or whatever? Like people was living and surviving. You know, they was developing things. So like it's pretty much all on us. And like, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think enough of us gonna realize, because we buy into this notion that we need the white validation and we need the Oscars and we need the Grammy Awards. We need that recognition. We need the white man to pat us on the head to make us feel like we're doing a good job. You know, instead of like, you know, doing things for ourselves like our people have done over the years, time and time again, and which our people will continue to do. I mean, like I said, everybody's not going to be able to get on board with that, and that's the one thing that we just have to accept. It's like we can try. I mean, you know, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make them drink it. And those are things that we're just going to have to accept, that like not all of us is going to go along with it, but there's still a possibility that we can get enough of us to go along with it to make some serious changes. But, you know, as far as this whole, like, you know what I'm saying, political stuff, I mean, we can do the best we can with it. But other people definitely need to start thinking about other kind of plans, like taking flight if you need to flee this country, or saving money like I talked about before. Not like, you know, be like, you know, frivolous with your funds and your resources and stuff, just in case the worst comes to the worst. You know, you gotta think about all kind of different things that you're gonna need to be doing to survive the world, period. So, you know, again, like they're gonna believe what they're gonna believe about us regardless. Malcolm X, the late great Malcolm X said, and you know, shout out to Malcolm X. His birthday was 3 days ago, May 19th. You know, you can have a PhD, you can have a doctorate, you can have all this and that, but what they're gonna call you at the end of the day, they're gonna call you the N-word.
Right.
So, you know, it's all about what you believe, who you are.
Yeah, you're right about that, Mark, 100%, because I just think that people put that label on Black Americans and they think we can only do certain things when we have reached great heights in this world, not only just in this country, but in this world, but we're never respected. And it's one of those things we're going to continue to monitor and talk about here on the Grown Man Podcast because it is important. The next thing I want to talk about ties right into that, and that is the Rooney Rule. So the Rooney Rule has come up because, of course, DEI and that whole thing of being rolled back. So we got people that wanted to attack that. And right now, you got legal challenges from Florida's Attorney General, James Altemeyer, claiming the rule violates state law by mandating race-based considerations. So for those who are not familiar with the Rooney Rule was established in 2003 by the NFL to address the unrepresentation of minority coaches, executives in the league. Named after Dan Rooney, the former owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers and chairman of the league's diversity committee, the rule mandates that teams interview at least one or more minority candidates for head coaching and senior football operation positions. Though it does not require hiring them, its goal is to ensure that minority candidates have meaningful opportunities for leadership roles in a league where the majority of the players are African American. Right then and there, that's a lot to talk about because it ties into what I just said earlier. I know that guys get big paydays in the NFL. We understand this. And we understand, D.L. Hughley said this recently on his podcast where he was like, he doesn't expect people to walk away from the money, but you have to look at the fact the way they treat you for that money, especially down there in the college campuses, like down in Alabama and places like that, the SEC, where that's a big money-making machine. And yet the players are not being compensated for their work there. Because let's just face it, me and you talked about this before here on the Grown Men Podcast, as well as offline, about what happens to players when they're out of the league. Because in football, a player's span, the average football player's span is 3 to 5 years, if you can get that. And how much money can they make within that time when 53 other people on the team have to be paid? If you're not the superstar, you're just a regular guy. And right now with the Rooney Rule, the Rooney Rule was requiring people to talk to head coaches. So people that, it was created after the firings of Tony Dungy and Dennis Green. They were successful black head coaches. And then, of course, the Steelers interviewed and hired Mike Tomlin after, I forget his name. He's over at CBS now, but he left when he was the head coach of the Steelers. And the whole thing I'm looking at is like, look, they're just interviewing people. It has to be fair for everyone. But the whole point is that the majority of the coaches have always been white in the NFL, and they still are. Because the black coaches who do get opportunities, they get the bottom of the barrel coaching jobs. They hardly ever walk into a gravy train because they don't think that we have the skills to build something from nothing. While we are the kings of making something from nothing. We've done it our whole lives. When they brought us to this country, we made something for nothing. So for me to sit here and see these things, and this guy down in Florida, this attorney general, which rides right into that idiot who's the governor down there, DeSantis, they all want to try to roll things back. But they love to go cheer those black Americans on those football teams or on those basketball courts.
Yes.
Because in their mind is run, boy, run. That's what they're really thinking. But when it comes to having high positions, we don't want you being a head coach. The hell you will be an executive of my team. These are the thoughts that they really have in the back of their head. We're good enough to play in the field just like we were when we were picking cotton, but we're not good enough to sit in that office, or we're not good enough or smart enough or brilliant enough to make head coaching decisions. So that's what gets me fired up about this whole thing, is that they come up with these ridiculous reasons that we're not smart enough, we're not good enough, we're not brilliant, when we're all those things and more. And all of the black head coaches who have gotten positions, they deserved it. And we had a great one here in Chicago in Lovie Smith. Remember, people tend to forget. And I never got over it, and that's why I never fully forgave the Bears. Because when they fired Lovie Smith, the Bears had a 10-6 record. How many white coaches have gotten fired after 10-6 records? I looked them up. I don't see any of them. The guys who got fired when they was white had those 4-11 seasons and things of that nature, 3-13. Like, look how far the bottom had to fall out for the Chicago Bears to fire Mike Ditka. And he got an executive job when he knew nothing. He got an executive job down in New Orleans. How did that work out? He set that franchise backwards. So don't give me this crap about Rooney Rule being biased against white coaches and white executives. Give me a break. The black players are good enough to play in the field, but we're not good enough to sit in the office. It kills me, Mar. It really does. But what you got to say?
Well, man, it's just one of those things. They never believed our brains was big enough, not compared to the white man, to be able to make decisions and be a coach and make executive decisions or even throw the football. Because remember, it took a long time before you seen a black quarterback.
Exactly. Exactly.
It took a long, long time, and a lot of players back in the day, who could have been a quarterback, they had to settle for being a running back. When they played good quarterback when they was allowed to do good quarterback in college, they had to settle to be running back, because that's what it is. I mean, the thing that fires me about all of that is once again is that we have too many of us that buy into that notion. That's what hurts us the most, because too many of us don't want to take the stand and say, oh, hell no, you won't give us this position. And as far as the Rooney Rule goes, again, that's just an interview. You don't have to get, I mean, that don't guarantee that you're going to get that job. That's just an interview. Again, like you said, the Rooney Rule, that was a policy to require teams just to get an interview. And the late, great Al Davis, he was the owner of Oakland Raiders back in the day. He was the first owner to hire a black coach, Art Shell. This was in 1989.
Right, exactly.
So from 89, before 89, when football became, I think, a thing, back in the 30s and 40s. So, whatever it was, it took them, multiple decades to have the first black head coach. And that's the thing, too. The NFL have always been a segregated institution. And on top of that, it's been filled with nepotism.
Yep, absolutely.
So, over 10% of the on-field coaches have been either a father-son combination or son or brother.
Yep, like the Shulas.
One of the dynasties, here's some of the dynasties of that whole system, the Shanahan. Mike and Kyle.
Yeah, the Shulas.
Yeah.
The Shulas.
You got the Ryans.
Yep.
Buddy, Rex, and Rob.
Yeah.
The Phillips.
Yeah.
Bum and Wade.
Yep.
And also like the Manning family. Archie, Peyton, and Eli.
Yeah.
They haven't coached yet, but they was all players, and soon to come along with that is the grandson. I got Arch Manning.
Yeah.
Who's currently playing for the Texas Longhorns right now. I'm curious to see his NFL draft, because I wonder if he's going to get the same kind of heat and scrutiny that Shedeur Sanders, the son of Deion Sanders, had when he was getting drafted, because it took him, he got drafted extremely late. Was it the 5th or 6th round of the draft?
Yeah, it was way down there. He was way down there.
Despite all his credentials, all his success in his college years. So I say all that to say this institution is what it's always been. I mean, have we been able to chip around the edges and get them to lighten up some? Yeah, sure. I mean, they had Jay-Z to be in charge of the Super Bowl entertainment and all that kind of stuff. That was a big blow for for the blacks. But this institution has always been this way, and they're not looking to change. And now, once again, with the current administration in place, they feel emboldened to push back against some of this stuff. They want to sit there and use reverse racism and things like that. Like there's some kind of big grievance for white people because of the Rooney Rules or because of DEI and all that kind of stuff, right? They sit there, continue to give us the okie doke, try to pull the wool over our eyes and pretend like this is wrong or this some kind of grave injustice. But it's like, what are we gonna do about it? Because we keep believing into these systems because we want to be a part of their stuff, or we can create our own stuff. At the end of the day, to be honest, me personally, I feel that every single player of color should step out of the league.
Yeah.
I've always felt that way.
Yep.
All these sports, just give it up. Be like, you know what, we ain't doing this. Or we gonna do our own thing like that. But again, we don't have that mindset because we want to get that money right now. And I get it, man. People are struggling, especially those young kids who come from these families, because they love to highlight that too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look at this young man came from a family of a single mother because his father was in jail or doing some kind of crime. And look at this great opportunity just to go to the NFL thanks to the good white owner that's giving them this great opportunity.
Exactly.
But like, you know what I'm saying? Well, again, going back to Deion Sanders, boy, because Deion Sanders was that black father that's been involved in his life. And what was the thing about Shedeur Sanders? Oh, he's so cocky and he thinks he's all this and that. And you know what I'm saying? They had so much negative stuff to say about him because he wasn't the black kid that came from the fatherless household. Because Deion Sanders loves his kids. He loves his family. He was a positive black man. Same thing with LeVar Ball and stuff. I know we joked about this guy before, but you can't say that he don't love his kids and he's not out there fighting to get his kids the best opportunities that he can.
Right.
So it's like, we do it. They sit there and try to demonize it, and shame on us for going along with this whole program. We got to stop doing that to ourselves because at the end of the day, it's going to hurt us. Like, sure, we're going to get a couple people that's going to make some money, that's going to make a little bit of money, but it's no way compared to what these owners are getting. The NFL is a multi-billion-dollar
machine. It's a machine, Mark. They control everything, and now they're trying to branch out across the world as they want more games. They want games in Australia, Spain. They want games in China. Anywhere they can have an NFL game, they trying to do. And that's why, the government is pushing back against some of this because they're saying, look, all these games now, everything is on Netflix or on Amazon or Apple, and everybody's got rights to this. Where it used to be you could watch football on a Sunday. Now they want football on Wednesdays. They got football on Mondays, any days of the week.
Well, the government needs to be quiet because they helped create this monster. They helped create the monster. That's the whole thing about it. Like, going back to the Supreme Court and all that kind of stuff, man. When they wanted to get to allow all these billionaires to have influence over these elections and all that kind of stuff, and they love to deregulate stuff. They don't want regulation. You want to deregulate everything. So this is what you end up creating.
Yep.
So, y'all could be mad about it now, but how many of y'all going to really have the cojones to sit there and really do something about it and make some real significant changes? So, again, you create this monster, then you want to sit there and cry about it. You want to sit there and throw rocks and hash your hand. It's on y'all. And it's on us for, once again, going along with it because we got to watch. We need our sports. We talk about we need to keep politics out of sports and all that kind of stuff, right? But what happens when the sports get into the politics? We don't say nothing then. So,
absolutely.
It is what it is. It's one of those things, as you say.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, I'm passionate about and I get fired up about because I'm tired of us as Black Americans being put upon, but it's even worse when we put it on ourselves because there are things we can do, Mark, to, mitigate some of this stuff. Like you said, walk out on the games. I know you need money. We all need money. You know what I mean? That's what we do. But,
there's other ways to make money.
Right. That's the point that I was trying to get at. There's other ways to do it. So what, that's my thing about it. I can talk about this all day, but I want to move on to something else because this kind of ties right into that. And I want to talk about right here in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. So Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson, they're both trying to dodge the blame for the Bears mess. And this whole thing has been a mess for a while. It's been before J.B. Pritzker was the governor. It's been before Mayor Brandon Johnson was the mayor. The Bears have always wanted out of Soldier Field. Because it was never meant for them. It was meant as a war memorial for war memorials, and they built a stadium and named it, but the Bears never really won it. When they came over from Wrigley Field, they played over there at Soldier Field, but it was never supposed to be a permanent home, but somehow it became a permanent home, and now they want out of it. However, they want taxpayers' money to do it. And they always say they want assurances that they can get across the state line in Indiana that, we're going to be, they'll be the end all be all. And if that's where they go, that's fine and dandy with me, as I've said before. And this might disappoint a lot of Bears fans and a lot of people in the city of Chicago. But as I've told people before, I could care less, because I believe that money can be spent for education. That money can be spent for mental health crisis, violence prevention. All of these things are way, way, way more important than kicking and throwing a football. But Roger Goodell, the man who's in head, is saying, look, the Bears need to stay in Illinois because he wants that big city revenue. Indiana already has a team. They have the Colts. They have the Indianapolis Colts. That's their football team. If the Bears cross that state line, they can no longer be called the Chicago Bears. At that point, you need to be the Indiana Bears or whatever Bears you want to be, the Hammond Bears. But you can't be the Chicago Bears. So you had Brandon Johnson saying that he was going down there last minute to get a plan. And then J.B. Pritzker said he has no plan and he knows he doesn't. So now these two guys are at each other's throat because neither one wants to take the blame for them leaving. And I look at it like this. Most people that go to those Bears games, where do they live, Mark? Where do they live?
Suburbs.
Exactly. That's why it makes sense for that stadium to be in Arlington Heights, because those white people who can afford it are the ones that are going. Black people can't afford it, so we don't go. And people never like to look at that. They always give every reason up under the sun, like you always say, Mark, and I agree with you 100%. About they always talk about the middle class. What you mean is the white middle class, because you know damn well that Black Americans can't spend $350 to sit on the sideline in cold wintertime. You can't afford it. And they know damn well that you can't. So why should I give a damn about where the Bears play? Do I like football? Yeah, just like everybody else, I like sports, right? But I'm not going to sit here and sacrifice these kids' future, and I'm not going to pay higher tax on my property for the right to have them play here where I don't even watch them. I haven't been to a Bears game since the 80s and don't have any intention. Still always say, hey, man, let's go to one of them games. I say I have no intention on going over there sitting in that stadium. I can watch it very well, comfortably, sitting home in my chair and watch it on television. But what do you got to say about this that's going on?
I mean, man, you already know where I stand on. I mean, this is all like, nonsense. And I want to address the mayor and the governor and stuff. I mean, Pritzker and the mayor, Mayor Johnson, have always had a contentious relationship and stuff, because they both always been they both had pretty much different politics in a way, I mean, Pritzker is more has been more like of a, establishment type, where Mayor Brandon Johnson has kind of been more progressively minded type, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Excuse the word silent, but basically they always butt heads. I mean, they've been able to come together with the whole ICE invasion and things like that. I mean, but it's like one of those things too, where they both they both realize that, unfortunately, that the people of Chicago are too captured by the Chicago Bears.
Right.
Like that's a brand of the city.
Right.
That's a pillar of the city. I mean, the Chicago Bears has always been the number one sports team for like a long time now. Even when the Bulls and Michael Jordan and them were winning all those championships, it's always been the Bears first.
Well, it's
It
always
used to be the Bears first, then the Bulls, or really the Bears, then the Cubs.
been a Bears town. That's no question about that. It's always been a Bears town. You know, for the good or bad.
No matter what they recommend.
Right.
I mean, they've been losing for like a long time. I mean, they haven't won the Super Bowl since '85.
Yeah, you was about
season.
You was about 2 or 3 years old then.
Exactly. So I mean, that's my whole point. And like you brought up when we was talking about the Rooney Rule stuff, I mean, that's another thing why, I mean, how Lovie Smith got so mistreated, because he was the last coach to, like, lead them to the Super Bowl. They didn't win, but they got to the Super Bowl under that black head coach. But I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. And we done talked about this on podcasts before with this whole, like, owners thing, like when they get all uppity about, oh yeah, we need a new stadium, we need this and we need that. When you got these owners that got billions of dollars, I mean, you can't be an NFL owner without being a billionaire.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So if you need all these new stadium stuff, I mean, surely you can afford, I mean, to like get that. Why should it have to come out of taxpayer money? Why? Why should the people who can't afford to sit up in the stadium pay for a stadium? That's always been crazy and beyond ridiculous to me. So, like, I agree with pretty much a lot with what you had to say with that. I mean, if they want to go, let them go. I mean, but it's such a difficulty thing for, like, what I'm saying, as far as like our like political leaderships and all that, because it's like, we believe that the Bears is part of the city. It's Chicago Bears. It can't be anything else. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to blink first. I mean, it's like, owners is going to go ahead and settle with, which I think they're going to probably reach an agreement. But yeah, I mean, it would make more sense if they played in the suburbs, go to Arlington Heights and play out there. Like, I mean, because yeah, the people that like attend their games are from that area.
Exactly.
So, it's just one of them things that, like, again, we the people got to stop going for this okadoke, because you can still be a fan of the Arlington Heights Bears, which they're going to probably still keep the name Chicago Bears.
Well, they're going to keep the name Chicago Bears. It's just like the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys don't play in Dallas, and they haven't played in Dallas in years. So, that's the whole point. They feel that it's the same thing. It's the outskirts of Chicago. Go play in Arlington Heights.
You can still root for the team. Hell, you can even go to the game if you can afford to. All you gotta do is go ahead and get on the metro and take the dog on up to like Arlington Heights if you want to sit there and go watch them. I mean, they don't need to be in Soldier Field. You can do a lot of things with with that stadium. I mean, like you said, you can start putting some more money towards the revenues of the damn Chicago public schools that getting some more after school programming and investing educational needs and things like that, public safety, all of the things. I mean, it's like just beyond ridiculous that like you got to have this whole debate and this conversation and discussion, and like the governor and the mayor got bigger fish to fry.
Yep.
Than being concerned with what I'm saying, where the damn Bears gonna throw a football at.
Yep. You are absolutely right, Mark. It's one of them situations where, bigger fish to fry, more things to get done in this city and this state right now with the way things are going on. And JB's running, for re-election. You got Darren Bailey, who's living here right now, trying to soak up Chicago living so he can try to get some of those votes. And, that whole deal that's going on with that. So they have bigger fish to fry, both of them. So to me, they shouldn't be going head to head over something as trivial to me as the Chicago Bears. And I know I'm going to take a lot of flack for that, but that's just the way I feel. You got
sport. It is what it is.
Yeah, because you got sportscasters and regular broadcasters and everybody trying to say, well, they're trying to save face because they don't want to be the people in charge when the Bears leave town. I could care less And see, that's the thing. They always look at the landscape of saying, okay, people who go to Bears games. And what did I just say a few minutes ago? Most of the people who go to Bears games live in the suburbs. They do not live in this city. Yeah, and they're mostly white. And they do not live in this city. Because as soon as that Bears game is over on that lakefront, they're on that 55 or they're on 94 and they're heading back to their suburbs. They're not in the city where we have these problems at. They're not here. They don't live amongst us.
Let's just be honest, G. Let's just go and call it what it is. We, the people, are sometimes very dumb. Yeah. Because we will allow a decision like if the Bears leave, we're gonna find a way to put the to like blame the mayor or the governor or both. Yeah. And like actually like calculate that in our planning when we think about voting for them. We're gonna be like, oh well, they cost us the Bears. Yeah. Let's get rid of the bums. Yeah. Yeah. Let's get them up out of here. Yeah. And let's bring a Republican in that's gonna definitely keep the Bears here because they're gonna like give them all kind of money and things like that. Yeah. Especially if they get a backdoor deal out of it, it's gonna be more taxpayer money and stuff to go towards the Bears. And while your community and the city of Chicago suffers, they will be all for that. Yeah. They would have had no problem with that. Mayor Daley wouldn't have had a problem with it either.
Nope.
Best believe.
Yeah. And
people got to stop being stupid. Stop being stupid. Wake up.
Mark, you said everything that needed to be said to end that topic because everything you said was brilliant and to the point is everything that real people are focused on and not just fans of a football team. Last thing I want to talk about, Mark, is something that you brought to the table. This is your baby, but I want to get your take on it. How great the city is because of minorities. And, a lot of times, people always think, well, the minorities are the ones that are causing all the problems. If it wasn't for those minorities, everything would be great for the majorities. But what do you think about it?
Well, I mean, this is like touching on narratives and stuff. I brought this up before on past shows and because it's very important when you listen to somebody say something about something is what is the framing? What's the narrative? What are they trying to push for sale? For folks to believe. And the thing about it is urban cities are widely known as dangerous places to live. From the coverage that we see in mainstream media. That's your news programs, your shows, your opinion pieces. Most people don't pick up newspapers too much anymore. But when you go online or you sit down and turn on CBS News or NBC News, ABC, whatever it is, those media outlets, it's always the bad coverage. It's always the gang violence. It's always the carjacking and all of those things. New York, Los Angeles, H-Town, Houston, Detroit, Memphis, Chi-Town, Philadelphia, all receive negative views. With the exception of when the sports team is doing well. That's pretty much the only time you're going to hear something positive about those cities when it's in regards to sports and things like that. But coincidentally, these areas are known as black areas or places with high percentage of minorities. These cities often are attacked because of the drugs, the violence, the carjacking, all those things I mentioned before. And the thing for me, or the question I have for you and our listeners and viewers, if you're on YouTube, things like that, do we believe that narrative? Is this who we are? Do we believe who they say we are? And I fear that a lot of us do. Just if you look at history of the city as far as the people in the city believe that we have to be, a certain way or you're gonna be labeled as something. It's just like saying if you black, of course you like fried chicken. If somebody that black say that, oh, I hate fried chicken, they be like, what's wrong with you? How can you not like fried chicken?
Right, right.
You believe into these stereotypes, but what brought me to thinking about this is a woman by the name of Karen Hunter. I think I mentioned her a couple times on the program.
Yeah, Karen Hunter.
She's the host. Yeah, Karen Hunter. She's a host at Sirius XM radio. You know, give her a little cheap plug right there. I mean, you know, whatever. And she's also a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. She came to Chicago. She came out here because she came to receive an honorary degree from Chicago State University, and then she did a segment on a show about the city, and she was talking about it. You know, I mean, she went on to give the city so much praise. I mean, one thing that she hated about the city was the driving, and I can't say she's wrong.
No, she's not wrong about that.
Chicago,
she's not wrong.
We know what it is. We don't stop at stop signs, and we will drive through a red light and do all kind of crazy things.
Right.
I mean, it's beyond ridiculous, but other than that, she went on talking about the food, the music, the culture, just pretty much the overall decency of the people that actually live out here, that work out here. And, you know, it's pretty much like she stayed over in the Hyde Park area, which is, of course, more the better parts of the cities and things like that. That's where the Obamas at and all that kind of stuff. But it's just that area over there. She visited the Obama Museum, stuff like that. You know, so, you know, basically she went on pretty much to glorify the city, but mainly the people, the working people that's out there, like the black business owners and stuff like that. Because I believe she mentioned a couple restaurants that she like visited that was black owned and stuff like that, which of course we encourage all our people to do.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
To like invest and go to these black owned places and spend your money amongst black people and things like that of that nature. But that's the whole thing about it is like, you know, yes, there's a lot of crime and violence in the city. We know that. We talk about that a lot of times ad nauseum sometimes on this show.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, we were aware of like the carjacking, the crimes, the drug dealing, the prostitutions, all of the things and stuff like that, but that's not the whole city. I mean, most of the city is made up of working class folks, people that get up every single day. Like our old man used to do, get up at 5 a.m, put his work pants on and his boots and go to work.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, was he a perfect man? Absolutely not. But he went to work every day just like so many people do.
Yeah.
Just like our mother did when she worked, you know, to pay the bills, to feed her family, to take care of her family. That's what Chicago is. It's about these communities and the people in the community that sit there and go to work every day to feed and support their family and to bring us up. We, you know, we the people out here are like hard-working people. We do things out here. We raise kids as best we can. We want to teach them to do right, to do better, to have more than what we have had. You know, along with that, like the thing about Chicago too is that don't get mentioned enough is like it was a launching point for so many organizations. When you think about the civil rights movement back in the day, back 40, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, from the nation, all the way to like Rainbow Push Coalition, to like the Black Panthers and all that kind of stuff. Like a lot of those organizations got started or launched here in the city of Chicago. You talk about the Chicago Defender newspaper, like, you know what I'm saying, things like that, Jet Magazine, Ebony Magazine.
Not only that, I ain't going to cut you off, Mark, but not only that, look, we did something that no other city can do, right? And no other city can brag and boast this. You know what we did? We sent a black man to the presidency of the United States of America. That's what we did here in Chicago. That's where that grassroots started at. That's where it started at. So we can brag and boast about that because we absolutely did that. And everything you are saying is 100% accurate because there are a lot of good things that go on in this city, but they're never talked about because that's not a flashing point. That's not something you want to see on Fox News. You want to see violence. You want to see crime so you can complain to the other people. Yeah. Yeah. So you can complain to people about how bad it is and how terrible it is. No. The people that live here in this city are hardworking people. They go to work, as you alluded to, every day, just like we do, just like our family. There are other families, and I know them personally, that go to work every day, and they do everything they can to take care of their families, as you said before. The problem is bureaucracy, and the government sometimes gets in the way of that. That is the main issue for us. And as you said before, Mark, the resources. We cannot stress that enough here on the Grown Men Podcast.
Well, I mean, when they sit there and take the resources out of the city, I mean, once again, like if you go back in the day and stuff, like, yeah, Chicago used to have like a whole lot of white people. And I mean, they still have a lot of white people in the city, but they used to have even more and things like that. But once it had to get integrated and you start seeing like, black people get home ownerships and things like that, guess what they did? They wanted to move out the city.
Yep.
Take the businesses out of the city.
Yep.
And that's how you create poverty.
Yep.
And when you got poverty, you're going to have crimes. You're going to have all of the bad things because people got to eat. So, I mean, but even then with that, like, once again, it's not like the whole entire city is just crime ridden. It's not like it's pockets of areas and communities. There's still like a lot of neighborhoods that are good communities and neighborhoods. You have block parties going on, all those type of things like that. But there's like, yes, certain areas that are crime ridden. But those are pockets and stuff, but we always highlight those so much. And again, goes back to the question, do we have to believe that's who we are? Do we have to get involved in this stuff? And I get it, like coming up as a young man and stuff like that, when you grow up in a community, in a poor community, and things like that, you're going to gravitate towards the thing that looks like it's cool, or this is what you have to be. This is how you got to carry yourself. You got to wear you got to wear your pants saggy. You got to wear, the baseball cap slanted, or you got it cocked off, or whatever the case is. Like, you feel that you have to do these things to be accepted, to like blend in to what's going on. But it's like, this is not all who we are. Like, again, the people in Chicago, we are hard workers. Like you said, we are creators of things. We are innovators, entrepreneurs. There's a lot of black businesses in Chicago. We need to highlight those more. That's all I'm trying to say and express, is that you don't have to believe what the media hype, and shame on them, because they do that stuff intentionally. Once again, when you come to these cities, and not just Chicago, places like Houston, Los Angeles, New York City and stuff, you have the people and the culture. Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yes, Baltimore. I said, come on, man. Like, come on. Like the mayor out there in Baltimore, the governor in Baltimore, who should be the president.
Yeah.
I would love to see him run.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, again, they try to sit there and, crap on these people, or like the moment something bad happens, you want to sit there and point your finger at that black leadership and say, like, they're the problem. But like I said, not just black people, but, like the Latino brothers and sisters out there, like the Jewish folks out there, all the people, all of the minorities around, do very good, positive things that never get highlighted, because they don't want that to be the narrative. They want you to sit there to believe that the trouble starts when you have the people of color. But guess what? Like, if it wasn't for these people of color, you wouldn't have the United States of America. That's just the reality of the situation. Like, this country was built on the blood, sweat, and tears of minorities, and particularly black folk, that had to do servitude, forced into this nonsense, but we made something out of it. We survived when we weren't supposed to. We was never supposed to be more than just people that can be used and manipulated. And that's what gets me fired up and pissed off, is when we sit there and buy into it and don't think nothing more of ourselves than just that. That just think that black people started with slavery, chattel slavery. You know what I'm saying? Like, forget that we was a whole people in Africa way before that. And I'm talking thousands of years. You want to talk about the before Christ days and things like that, but but seriously though, we sit there and underestimate ourselves, because That's who they taught us to be. And going back to the late, great brother Malcolm X, who taught you to hate yourself? He said that. It's one of his most famous quotes. Who taught you to hate yourself? And why did they teach that? There's a reason for everything. So I'm going to get off my soapbox now, but I just wanted to put that out there and to highlight the greatness of the city from what we do. And like, yeah, our sports teams and all that kind of stuff. You know, I mean, having Barack Obama, who grew up out here as a community organizer, like that was some bad thing to be, the way Fox News was trying to spin it. Oh, he's just a community organizer. What the hell would he know about governing? And, well, you seen what he did? I mean, was he a perfect president? Absolutely not. There's no such thing as perfection.
No.
But he done a lot of great things to push this country further. And because he happened to have the skin he was wearing, we had to get somebody else in to push it backwards.
Well, yeah, Mark, it's one of them situations where I end it like this. We are only as good as we value ourselves to be. If we feel that we are valueless, then that's the way that we will behave and be perceived in that manner. We have to grow. We have to do better because we are better. Regardless of what anyone says about you, you can achieve anything that you want to achieve. Don't let anybody stop you from being who you are, and don't let anybody tell you that you are less than, because you are more than and you are greater than. Be the best person that you can be, and I'm quite sure that you will have success in life, whatever endeavor that you choose. Well, folks, it was glad that you came in to listen to me and my brothers here talk on the Grown Men Podcast, because we have a lot of interesting things to say as we give our take. Mark, it's great to have you back here on the Grown Men Podcast, and we had some great things to talk about today.
This is always good to talk, and it's always a pleasure to be here. I appreciate it.
Well, folks, you know what to do. Head on over to WeRiseNation.com. Check out the website. Check out some of the podcasts that are uploaded there as well. There are some short videos that are coming as well. Things are happening over at the We Rise Nation Network, guaranteed 100%. Well, until the next time, for my brother, the Mark, I am your host, BAN, and we will talk to you soon.
Where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it, coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We about to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud.